Hi friends, welcome to another craft video. Today we are going to be making something that can be both a toy and a tool. We're going to be making a Mr. Spaceman. Now this Mr. Spaceman is going to be helping us with our spaces in between our words. When we're writing a sentence, we always try to make sure to put a space in between your words. Now Miss Day says that you can use your finger spaces, but we're going to make a fun little tool to help us remember how to use our spaces in our sentences. So what you are going to need today, you're going to need some construction paper, a glue stick, popsicle stick, note cards, something that's a white piece of paper, maybe copy paper, maybe note cards, whatever you have that's just a white piece of paper, markers, and some scissors. Now, if you don't have a popsicle stick, I'm going to show you how to do it using just construction paper. So if you don't have a popsicle stick, don't worry. You can still do this fun activity. You're just going to go to close to the end of the video, and that's where I'm going to show you how to do it with just construction paper. All right, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have room to work here. And I'm going to first use my popsicle stick, and I'm going to determine which side I want to be his face and which side I want to be his feet. So I want to be up here. This is the top of my guy, so I'm going to make that my face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black marker. You can do whatever color you'd want. I'm just going to do my black marker, and I'm going to very carefully draw a little face on this guy. I'm going to give him a little smile. I'm going to leave some room because I'm going to put a hat on him. So I want to leave some room at the top. There we go. My guy has a cute little smile on his face. And then where his feet are, I'm just going to draw a little line across so that I know where I'm going to put his shoes. All right, so we've got our Mr. Spaceman started. So let's get moving. Now, Mr. Spaceman, if you listen to that, it sounds like a guy that's going into space, right? So I'm gonna make my guy look like an astronaut. You can make your Mr. Spaceman look like whatever you want, but I'm gonna make mine look like an astronaut because I think that's gonna be really cool. So I'm gonna be taking my white paper, whatever white paper I have, and I'm going to draw a little circle. Now this is gonna be his helmet, but if I make his helmet all white on the inside, then I'm not going to be able to see his face. So I'm going to cut out the helmet, and then I'm just going to cut around the edge of the circle to give him a helmet that's going to go around his face, but then you'll still be able to see his little face. So I'm going to draw another circle around, and I'm going to cut it out just like this. All right, so I've got my little circle cut out that I'm gonna use as my helmet for my Mr. Spaceman. So I'm gonna put that just right there. See how that goes around his face and looks like a little helmet? So now I need to get my glue stick, and I need to make sure that this is going to stick on. So I'm just gonna put some glue down here at the bottom, some glue up here at the top, and then I'm gonna stick on my little spaceman's helmet. I didn't even need that glue at the top there. That'll just dry. All right, so my Mr. Spaceman, let's put it this way so that we'll use both the glues. So my Mr. Spaceman now has a helmet, so he needs to look like an astronaut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my marker, my black marker, and I'm gonna draw on a little spacesuit. Now I know that spacesuits kind of look like this. So whenever I'm drawing a spacesuit, I'm going to keep that picture in my brain so that I can draw it onto my Mr. Spaceman. Let's see, he's going to have some little buttons to hold his spacesuit together. There's where that is. He's going to have, I need to draw a line down the middle so he has two legs. There we go. Now I know that on some spacesuits they do the American flag, so let's put that on my spaceman suit. then using my blue marker, I'm going to do the stars right here. There we go. Kind of looks like an American flag. Now, if I wanted to, I could add some other things to my spaceman. If I wanted to add some shoes, I could definitely do that. In fact, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to use this white paper again, and I'm going to draw some shoes on. I'm going to think about what those astronaut shoes look like. Oh, I don't like that one. Let's try that again. I'm going to think about what those astronaut shoes look like, and that's what I'm going to draw here onto my white paper. All right, I'm going to cut that out. All right, I've got Mr. Spaceman's boots. I'm going to come down here, and in that area that I left for his feet, I'm going to put some glue. Going to need a lot for it to stick on because this is wood and paper. It doesn't really want to stick together. So I put some glue, and I'm going to stick his shoes on. Here we go. He's got some good spaceman shoes. I could also add in some arms. I'm going to get a new white piece of paper because this one is kind of used up. So let's get my next new white piece of paper. And I'm going to draw on some arms. Now I'm going to look at my Mr. Spaceman, and I'm going to put him on my white piece of paper and hold him here like this, so that if I wanted to, I could make sure that his arms don't look super, super big for how big he is. So there's one arm. And there's another arm. Now I know that spacemen, they wear gloves, so I'm going to put some gloves on him. And now I'm going to cut out those arms. All right, I have my arms all cut out and ready to go. So now I'm going to just make sure that I put the right arm on the right side of Mr. Spaceman. Oh, yep, there we go. So I'm going to glue these onto his back. So I'm going to figure out about where I want his arms to go. And then I'm going to put some glue back here. I'm going to flip his arms where they're facing outward so I can see them. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue on top of that just to help it stay. And then we're going to just let this dry. And after you let him dry, let's take a look at him. He's so cute, and he's ready to help us when writing our sentences. Let's give him a try. I'm going to write the sentence, I like cats. I'm going to use my Mr. Spaceman. Oh, there we go. I'm going to start right here. There we go, friends. Mr. Spaceman helped me put my spaces in between my words so you could tell where my words started and where they stopped. Now, if you made Mr. Spaceman with a popsicle stick, then you can stop the video here and go use him to write some sentences. But if you are somebody who's waiting to start the video when we're using just paper, that's where we're going to get into it now. So let me put this little Mr. Spaceman down. And let's get started on the next Mr. Spaceman. Now, I'm going to use just some construction paper. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to hold it on my construction paper right here on the side so that I can see how wide I want my Mr. Spaceman to be. And I'm just going to trace alongside my finger so I can make Mr. Spaceman wide enough to make a space. Then I'm just going to cut this apart off my construction paper. And this right here, friends, is going to be Mr. Spaceman's body. Just like our popsicle stick. See? He's about the same size as our popsicle stick even. So now I'm going to do the same thing that I did on my popsicle stick, but it's just going to be a little bit different. I'm going to draw his face. I'm going to draw his spacesuit. I'm going to draw his pants, where his shoes are going to go, just like we did before on my last Mr. Spaceman. I drew an American flag because if you look at pictures of other spacesuits that look like this, then they have American flags on them sometimes. So I'm putting an American flag on my little guy, on my spaceman. There we go. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that helmet. So I'm going to look at how wide Mr. Spaceman's face is, and I'm going to make sure to make my circle big enough that it's going to go all the way around his face. That might be a little too big actually, but we can always cut it down a little bit smaller if we need to. All right. So I'm going to cut this out. All right, so I've got Mr. Spaceman's helmet here, and it goes around his face just perfect. So I'm going to put a little glue on top and a little glue on bottom. Whoops. And let's get Mr. Spaceman's helmet on. There we go. All right, he's halfway there. Now we got to do some shoes. So I'm going to look here, and I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Spaceman's shoes are going to be, there we go, about that big. So there we go. So let's cut these out too. All right, now let's glue these Mr. Spaceman shoes on. There we go. Mr. Spaceman's got shoes. So the last thing that I did with my popsicle stick Mr. Spaceman was I gave him some arms. So let's do that with this Mr. Spaceman as well. I'm going to put him on my white paper, and I'm going to draw my arms about where they would be. Now I'm going to add some gloves on him because I know that if I think about what my astronauts look like, they wear gloves, and then I'm going to cut it out. All right, friends, now let's add his arms on. I'm going to flip him over to his back. And about where the arms are going to go, that's where I'm going to put some glue. I'm going to flip his arms forward and glue them onto his back. And there we have it, a Mr. Spaceman made totally out of paper instead of a popsicle stick. So now I'm going to test it out. I'm going to write the sentence, I like dogs. So let's try it with our Mr. Spaceman to help us add in those spaces. Oops, we had an arm fall off. Gotta glue that back on. There we go. And there we go. Our Mr. Spaceman helped us write our sentence, I like dogs, and we got to add in those spaces. Thank you so much for watching, friends. I am so happy that you joined me today for our craft, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.